Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the Clipper faithful, Clipper Nation. Thank you so much for joining us on one of the last days of January for the January Clipper Community Update. We're joined today by Jeremy and Mark, part of the development team. We have a big agenda to get through. I'm going to just dive right into it. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of our agenda, and then we're going to take them piece by piece, and it's going to be some exciting stuff. We're going to relay a lot of information. We'll get you on with our day. So we're going to talk about the role of the dev team in the Discord. Then we're going to highlight some of the wins of the month, both by the Clipper community members, as well as the development team and just kind of the DAO writ large. After that, we're going to talk about Mantle participation, which is one of the newest chains that Clipper has been expanded upon. And then Jeremy and Mark and myself are going to go through the platform updates, the discussion of the app redesign. We're going to give you a update on the OP grant, which as you can see, a great banner made by Ayutunde is what I've put up on my share screen. So we'll talk about OP grant updates, past grants, future grants, what's going on with the money, et cetera, et cetera. Then we're going to talk about sort of what's happening with sale staking, what's the plan moving forward. Finally, we're going to talk about the product pipeline and how the DAO comes into play with that product pipeline. And of course, we want to have time for questions and to highlight community asks, needs, concerns, and everything else. So that's our pretty large agenda. Let's see if we can get through it in the hour. And I would like to start by talking about kind of the dev role in the Discord, the core team role in Discord. And Mark, maybe you want to speak about that. And also welcome. Hi, guys. What a pleasure to be together on a stage. But I'm going on mute so you guys can talk for a minute.
Thanks, Ben. So, and hi, everyone. So, Shipyard is the core development team that initially developed Clipper, but the goal is to decentralize governance. And so, as we do that, it requires fostering community participation, and doing that requires not filling up too much, not having the core team fill up too much space, because I think that tends to crowd out other contributions. And by creating a vacuum, it creates space for others to step up. And so, I think there's two models for crypto projects. One is where you have like cults of personality, and the other is where you gradually move toward true decentralization. And our philosophy and goal is the latter, moving towards full decentralization. So I just want to mention that because, I, for example, often intentionally hold back from participating in the Discord, not because I'm not there and watching. I very much am, but because I think part of the goal is to try to decentralize the conversation and empower others to take over. I don't think, I have any real special knowledge or abilities. But when you flag me, I love chiming in, and I'm always there if I can be helpful. And so I just want to let everyone know that and give people a sense of how I think about my personal engagement with the community through the Discord.
And we appreciate, Mark. It's actually a lovely segue into what the community is doing when they've stepped up. Certainly, I felt that way when I stepped down from head of community into kind of a rank and file operator role. I wanted to see what the operators would come out and do, and the operators have been doing a ton. So I just wanted to shout out a few of the wonderful accomplishments that some of the operators have done. And this isn't all of them. This is just what the list that I threw together to have some stuff, and so we wouldn't go over a full hour. But for instance, at the end of December, Rusty was one of the leaders. Rusty is our kind of tech operator. He's the tech liaison. He handles tickets, but he also has been creating a bunch of campaigns specifically with Click, and he did Operation Red Wars. Let's see if I can put that up on the screen. And the Operation Red Wars, there was 20,000 OP for all participants. 2,000 of that is specifically for the Clipper leaderboard, and this was a campaign over about 2 weeks from the end of December to the beginning of January. He created this wonderful Dune dashboard. I'll pop it up in chat if you want to look at it a little bit more, but you can see how much activity that was accrued because of this campaign. I mean, the activity on Optimism kind of really jumped up, and it looks like because of that campaign, 2,000 OP is going to be coming to Clipper in one way or another. So I see a bunch of wallets. Obviously don't recognize wallet addresses by themselves, but hopefully you all are on there and you can earn that OP. Second up is Ayutunde, who was instrumental in letting us know or reminding us that there is this retro PGF grant. And we did a 24-hour campaign. We talked about this about a month ago. And it ended up because of Ayutunde's efforts, and he created this gorgeous banner to kind of celebrate the win. But we came out and had 50,000, just about 50,000 OP granted to Clipper because of this. I think there were hundreds of projects that were granted OP, and we were in the top 100 in terms of amount that we got. So Clipper's really a force on Optimism. The next operator contribution and community contribution I want to talk about is MEN and Captain T, who are our DAO financial steward as well as the kind of community events planner. They've created two fun campaigns within the Clipper community, which is the Battle for Treasure, and that is a channel within Clipper, so you should go click that. And it's a fun way. The Battle for Treasure, there was a share of Adventure 4 rewards that went out to captains that the captains turned around and said, let's give it to the community. But instead of just giving it right away, because where's the fun in that? There are all these tasks and quests and kind of puzzles to solve. And if you solve those, you get a share of the Adventure 4 captains kind of booty. So make sure to look into that. And finally, the PPC, which is the points campaign. It's an opportunity for Clipper community to keep earning from the DAO, not just operators. So there is a point system for the type of task that you can do, whether it's retweeting, engaging in the community, kind of actually creating things, and there's a whole submission list. And if you find yourself earning points on that, you will turn that into actual financial remuneration. So there are ways to be involved in the community and to earn from it. And all of these campaigns, activities, ways to be involved were created by you, members of the DAO. And we just really wanted to thank you for keeping that DAO so active as the core team. You know, Clipper's become quite mature. The DAO has released a token, and we've been around for years now. And it's exciting that it can be kind of an autonomous community where the community keeps moving things along. So anything that Jeremy and Mark want to say about community contributions, if I forgot anything, but we really wanted to start by highlighting you, the DAO, because you're the reason that Clipper happened. Yeah, applaud that. So great. Let's talk now. The next agenda item is just sort of an announcement. Jeremy, do you want to speak about Mantle? There's a link. I'll put up the link. And I mean, it's just reading a sentence, but just for people to take a break from me talking.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So Clipper expanded onto the Mantle network because of a proposal by the DAO. When we launched on there, and since we've launched, we've been one of the most active dexes on that network. As a result, kind of season one, as they call it, of sort of activity tracking and incentivization over at Mantle has led to Clipper being in the top 10 for DEX activity. And as a result, Clipper received, and in part the protocol and in part the community, 150,000 of MNT because of our TVL on that network. So it's a huge win just for, again, moving onto a network, having some activity on the network, and that was driven by a DAO proposal to get us over there.
So if the land grab on that network, we've got one of the largest continents. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, and it's certainly not the last of those that we have in mind. So there are other proposals I know that are active right now to expand onto base, to expand onto BSC, if and when the set mixes are correct for what Clipper has in the core pool. So I encourage everyone to go and look at those proposals, at that discussion. But yeah, activity on these platforms and the product that Clipper is, and how well it operates on these networks, is, I think, a testament to all of the contributions that go into making Clipper a community and a product.
That's great. So we're on Mainnet, Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, Mantle,
And
and looking to
Mantle.
get on Binance Smart Chain and Base if proposals passes, basically.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and we do need those assets live, right? Because we have a core pool, we have an approach, we have a formula. Clipper's kind of a strategy in a box as far as DEXs go, and we want to make sure that we can execute that strategy on those networks. So we do need those assets to be in place. But should they be in place, then we're in a position really on the front foot to launch.
All right, that's great. All right, we talked about community contributions, we talked about community wins, we talked about protocol wins, getting awards for Mantle. Let's talk about kind of platform updates. So, Jeremy, why don't you talk about the app redesign while I take a second to switch my screen to the app redesign, and then you'll walk me through it as I have it up on screen.
Yeah, really exciting. So since we last all got together in December, I think I had teased that we were going to have some updates coming to the user experience on Clipper, in line with the conversations we had, and a lot of them that Mark led in Q4 of 2023. Uh, those launched a little over a week ago, and so far so good. But we're really excited about this sort of slimmed down LP focused version of Clipper that still lets all the swapping happen, all the transaction activity happen, but up top and out front, it really showcases to potential liquidity providers just how good Clipper is as a place to park their capital in crypto. And it obviously showcases the options that Clipper has, so across those 5 networks that we were talking about, and then the volume that's on those networks, the performance, recent, APR performance of investments in those networks, and then you can click in and kind of get more detailed data.
Great. I'm also seeing chats on the side. We have a big agenda and we do want to address your questions. So you just have to remind me at the end to look through the chat to make sure I see what you have. But put those questions in the main stage chat at Floss2x Daily. We'll make sure to get to them. Uh, Jeremy, is there anything particular you want me to click on to highlight as I share my screen? And maybe
I think
Mark.
go to deposit
Sure, sure.
up in the nav. So the nav was slimmed down, so they have 4 links, and that deposit is really, I think, kind of where we put so much of our kind of design thinking and effort, because we wanted to turn the old deposit page, which was just that module on the top left. It was just a deposit space,
Right.
into more of a dashboard experience so that people could understand, one, what they were depositing into, right? Recent performance, volume, etc. But also how their positions, their current open positions are performing, so that we are giving LPs and empowering LPs with information on what their capital is doing, right? It's not just this theoretical, like, okay, great, this is how you're going to win, but okay, now we have some measurements for you. And this will be enhanced. We have a partner, a third-party partner, that's going to help us integrate benchmarks into this, so people will be able to select which token they want to use as a benchmark,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can see their gains against that benchmark. And we'll also have deeper transaction history that people can click into down the line. So right now, I think it's just showing open positions and only for the last maybe 30 or 60 days. And so we're going to be expanding that back as well.
Yeah, I'd love to. The benchmark sounds great. More data. I also just like how it's kind of designed around me as opposed to around
Yes,
Clipper. Like, and I am a part of Clipper. I love it, but it's nice to be able to click one spot and say, okay, this is my stuff. This is my sale reward. So
that's
it's
right.
designed around my journey. And I
Yep.
actually wonder, to that point, maybe Mark could talk about I guess, the LP reports and the numerous conversations you all had about how to design this. Mark, you want to hop in and talk about that?
Yeah, so the DeFi landscape is constantly changing. and has certainly changed over the last few years since Clipper initially launched. And we were just curious how LPs thought about providing liquidity today. And so we actually talked with about 40 to 50 people who had LP'd in the past to try to understand how they're thinking. And we came away with a few insights. One is that LPs really feel pretty burned by debt.
Oops. Do we lose you? Getting burned by dexes.
Yeah,
Jeremy?
getting burned by dexes because other dexes are essentially designed to put the transaction costs on the LPs, right? They have formula that they execute. It's almost the exact same for every single one of them. And because the information that they're using is a little outdated because it's on chain, you are incentivizing arbitrageurs to come in and take slices of what would be LP gains otherwise.
Yeah, put it this way, like uh, most protocols, right? They earn a percentage of every transaction, um, and so their incentive is to generate tons of volume, even if that volume creates losses for LPs, right? And then they try to hand wave around it and say, well, that's impermanent loss, it doesn't count, but actually it does count. And and all the arbitrage volume that's pulled in by offering trades at bad prices creates more volume, but at
Lost him
the
again.
end of the
Oh,
day,
he's back.
what kind of creates impermanent loss? And I think a lot of people who've LP'd in most dexes have been burned and at this point kind of expect that to be a problem. Clipper doesn't work that way, and it doesn't have impermanent loss, which you can see by the no impermanent loss benchmark. But it's hard to communicate that. And so a big point of this redesign was to try to help people understand what the yields are, where they're coming from, and how they compare to the benchmarks people actually have. And we discovered that people have very different benchmarks. Some people think about yield with respect to USD. Some people think about yield with respect to ETH. Some people think about yield with respect to hodling the multiple assets in the pool. There's big differences. And so the goal is to try to give people as much information as possible, in an intuitive as way as possible, so that they can make decisions for themselves. And that's a big, that investigation was a big motivation for the redesign. We have a blog post on it, which I'm sure Jeremy will share, but I appreciate the community for providing those insights.
Yeah, pop that blog in chat, Jeremy. As to the benchmarks that are coming in the future, in your opinion, what benchmarks do you think should be on there for a savvy trader to compare against?
Well, the benchmarks that people expressed were USD, ETH, hodling the three assets, and then there's of course like a theoretical rebalancing portfolio, which is always already shown. So I think those are probably the big ones.
Oh, excited to see. Jeremy, any final thoughts on the app redesign before we move on?
I wouldn't call it a thought, but uh,
Jeremy's like, I don't have
Clipper, as we've
thoughts.
discussed, yeah, the thoughts. What are those? I mean, it's really a community. This is the community's product. So as you use it, as you kind of experience its functionality, send us notes, open tickets, provide feedback, because that's what allows us to improve. Like Mark said, there were 40 to 50 conversations, pretty in depth with a number of LPs, some of whom were in the Clipper community, and then a survey that we sent out that reached thousands and had hundreds of contributions that provided us with baseline for really understanding what right now people are concerned with. But that information is now almost definitionally irrelevant, right? It's kind of in the past. So we need fresh contributions in order to iterate kind of on these these forward cycles. So yeah, please let us know what your experiences are and any ways that you think be improving.
Right, we're active in the Discord. We listen to everything. We read the tickets. We have people writing. Well, Rusty kind of collates the common issues, feeds it up to change the dev team. So we're responsive. The DAO is us, is you. So we build it around your needs. And to that point, as we move to the next topic, if you have questions for us, we'll address at the end. Make sure to put it in the main stage chat at me, and we'll make sure to address those at the end. So our next topic is OP grant updates, past and future. As I change my screen, why don't one of you guys hop in and take that wherever you want to go. And I'm going to change the window back to IU Tunde's really cool banner, which showed us that what we won.
I'm going to hop in real quick. It's an update on something I teased last time. We took the snapshot for OP farming, kind of round one. That airdrop is imminent. We've had a number of development hurdles kind of get to the point where we know, okay, we're dropping the right people on time, but it's coming. Then the community is going to decide whether the remaining OP from the previous grant is going to be farmed and used as incentive on that network, or if that's going to be distributed directly to the community and then, of course, found out because it's the communities. So that's the update on the previous grant and the farming. There will be a second snapshot for anyone who's farmed since or deposited into that network to farm since the first snapshot. And that will be then subsequently airdropped in a much more timely fashion.
And around when was that first airdrop taken? Sorry, the first snapshot taken?
I don't want to say an exact date because I don't want to be incorrect,
Sure.
but like mid-December. So I think just before you and I spoke in the last community update.
All right. So just for context, it must have been 12 to 15 months ago, Clipper received, I want to say 300,000 OP. There was an initial OP drop of 150,000 OP. That happened, I mean, I can't remember now. It must have been about a year ago. So what Jeremy's referring to now is a second OP drop going to those people. Well, did you say what sort of the qualifications were even before the drop? But basically, it's if you
we launched a farming contract. Yeah, we launched a farming contract, an OP farming contract in late July. That was essentially a test that we were running for the mainnet veSAIL farming contract that we anticipated was going to be launching in August, which it did. It was functioning well until people started withdrawing, and then their rewards were not coming with them. So we told everyone, and this is in Discord, everyone can see it in September. Everything you're putting in will be rewarded, and once we decide kind of what the go forward is on open farming, and by we I mean as a community, then we'll know when that's coming. But those distributions are imminent for the first snapshot.
So if you participated in the OP farming contract between July and December, you should expect to see an OP airdrop imminently, as Jeremy puts it.
I mean, this week, yeah, barring some unforeseen further complication.
And then I'll make sure to get Captain T out there to let everyone know what's left from the original OP contract, and the community will decide what to do with it. So that brings us to this Retro PGF Round 3 grant. Mark, I'm going to turn to you to talk about what that meant. Has the money come to the DAO yet, and what's the plans for it? If he is unfrozen, which he might not be.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Great. So there's two use of funds. We have a bunch of OP. Some was through this Retro PGF, and some is through the Phase 0 or Phase 1 grant. The Phase 0 and 1 grant has a substantial amount that is going to be distributed in various forms to the community. And the Retro PGF is going to be used to pay for development services for the product pipeline that's being approved by the community. So, that product pipeline is up. We'll be voting on it, and those development expenses had to be funded, and so the in order to pay for that effort, the retro PGF grant will primarily go to that, which I think is great because building those features are very important to Clipper and will likely yield a substantial benefit.
And we're going to be bringing up the product roadmap in this call, so it'll be up on the screen. You can see what all the plans are coming up. And Jeremy, I see a bullet about a co-marketing kind of strategy. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, again, I have no thoughts, only requests. And this is really again a call to we kind of want to celebrate all the things that we're doing on Optimism. Not only did obviously win a substantial round 3 grant for the retro PGF, but we've been there from the round 0 and the round 1. And we have a lot of activity on Optimism. If you just go look at our Dune dashboard and look at the stats, this is a place where a lot of Clipper community members kind of hang out and do their transactions. So we want to look for aligned and active projects that we can do some Twitter spaces with, that we can kind of invite to our Discord to speak, can go to their Discord to speak, and just get some cross-pollination going, specifically around OP and activity on that network, sides of that network. So if anyone in the community knows other projects that are really heavy on OP as well, then please let us know. Open a ticket, and we'll get it through the pipeline. The operators may or may not decide to reward people for these kinds of events that do happen. But I know for sure that the Clipper community is not a stingy one. So get out there and get your recommendations into all of us.
We Clipper are one of the big boys in Optimism, but we want to partner with other big boys. So I don't know, maybe go look through the retro PGF grant and see who are the top earners. And if I know a dev there, and put us in touch with them, and let's kind of strategize around working together. All right, let's move now to talking about SAIL. So I'm going to flip my screen back to the SAIL deposit or the SAIL farming contract. And then we have a proposal regarding SAIL. I don't know who wants to take it, but one of you guys go while I tech my way into a different window. This is regarding the SAIL farming contract and inflows and outflows about staking rewards.
Yeah, so those are two separate things. I'll handle these because I've been juggling the tickets and the communication and the auditing of transactions on these. So the first is farming. So obviously we are incentivizing deposits on Ethereum mainnet with SAIL as a farming reward. There was a big farmer that withdrew in December and drew down the kind of initial seeded SAIL in that contract. That led to a few weeks where we just didn't have a sufficient amount of SAIL for everyone who was withdrawing. A few weeks, I think it was right around 2. I went through, looked at every transaction, calculated everything that is owed to people, and I'm distributing those one at a time. We also topped back up the contract. So if you look at the SAIL farming contract now, it has plenty of SAIL and will not be running out. So that is done and dusted. On the other side, veSAIL, we had a number of questions about overall SAIL exchange rates and kind of why people weren't seeing the upside that the listed APR was showing. And I went through those because at first we were concerned that there was a real issue perhaps with the contract with staking. But in fact, it was twofold. One, we had to normalize when we were making our SAIL contributions to that contract, right? Because the idea of staking is to give SAIL holders some exposure to activity on the platform. And by using some of the revenues from the platform to purchase then SAIL that goes into that staking contract. So if I have 100 SAIL and the pool is 100 SAIL and I get 100 veSAIL for that, then revenues would put in 10 sale, and I would have 110 sale for my 100 VE sale, right? So then I'm up that 10% in sale terms. That it is functioning as intended. When you look at how the contract is calculating gains, it is just that the sale deposits need to be more regular, and there's a lot of volatility in withdrawals and deposits. And because of that inflow and outflow, it's affecting the kind of overall level of sale in the contract for when people are withdrawing. So you have a kind of percent stake of the whole amount of sale that's in there that will drop as others kind of withdraw large amounts. And if we are combining those two issues, what you get is a lot of kind of choppy levels of performance. Some people are up big, right? Some people get nearly double the amount of sale on sale, and other people smaller distribution of sales. So we're looking for ways to smooth that out, both from a purchase standpoint and then from a withdrawal standpoint. And that's, I think, what the proposal that is up is about.
And so, to be clear, for the unsavvy folks like myself, when you stake your sale and have your vote escrowed sale, your VE sale, and you're wondering how does the rewards work, it comes from this exchange rate, and that exchange rate has been choppy because of inflows and outflows. And after investigating that, and we didn't get to this point, so I'm leading us to the next point, there does seem to be a solution to smooth out that choppiness. Do you want to talk about that proposed solution, Jeremy? Or Mark, whoever?
I'm happy to. When you look at VE curve or VECRV and VE BAL from curve and balancer respectively, those function with mandatory lockups. When we launched veSAIL, we said, well, there's no sense in making the lockup mandatory because we don't actually know the demand level. We don't actually know how well this is going to be functioning or how necessary this is going to be. Turns out there's a lot of demand, which is awesome. Sale holders want to stake. And I think that's because they believe in the long-term future of the project and obviously want to see that upside in terms of sale rewards. By introducing some lockup period, and the community has to decide how long and what each of those levels is incentivized at, then you will get a smoother withdrawal or a smoother level of withdrawal activity. I do want to remind everyone, like, the withdrawal activity is just normal. Like, that's going to happen. It was compounded by the fact that the sale contract wasn't being topped up in a timely fashion, and that issue has also been fixed.
I see. And so what I put up on screen is the first stage of community governance within Clipper, which takes place within the Discord, which is that people in the forum, the governance proposal submission forum, people can introduce a idea. And in this case, Captain T has suggested the implementation of a lockup period for veSAIL. And then if this goes through all the stages of governance, so it's in the forum, then it goes to the temperature check, then it goes on change snapshot, etc. If this passes, then the community has decided that yes, we would like to do a lockup, and that's to stabilize the volatility of the veSAIL exchange rate. The kind of hope here is that this will be, if this passes, it will be a two-stage proposal, and that one, we first agree, yeah, the community does want there to be a lockup period to stabilize the exchange rate. And then second, we need to determine what should that lockup period be. And this really is where the community needs to come in and give their experience and knowledge with whatever other protocols or thought experiments, etc. So even in this call, if you have some ideas about what other lockup periods have been or what a lockup period should be, put it in this forum submission so everyone can see it in writing, but feel free to put it in chat and we'll talk about it here today, right now. I don't know if Mark or Jeremy, do you have any thoughts about what a lockup period should be, assuming or hoping that this lockup proposal passes?
I don't have specific, again, no thoughts here, but I did do the research, and when you look at how it's operating in other ecosystems, VE Curve has a maximum lockup period of 4 years. veBAL, in almost direct response to VE Curve, because they've mentioned it in their docs, say a year max, just given how fast DeFi moves, and we feel like that gives us a little bit more space to operate. And I think their minimum lockup period is a week. So what will happen often in lockup periods is that you have an option to pick what your kind of minimum is going to be, and then your reward scale as a result.
It's like buying T-bills or something, if you will. They're your 60-day, 90-day, that kind of
Almost,
thing.
almost like
All
that.
right,
Yeah.
so
Mark, anything to add to
our
that?
range is 1 week to
Yeah.
4 years.
Uh, um, ultimately, I think the community should chime in on this, but my personal opinion is that usually the best practice comes from like the second or third major player to implement a certain feature. The first veSAIL innovates, and then the second or third takes the lesson of those innovators and is able to improve on them based on the lessons that you actually see in the wild. So it strikes me that Balancer should probably be the default expectation, Balancer's approach, uh, unless the community has arguments for something else,
And Balancer
which we
was,
would very much appreciate, input on. I think it needs to be a community decision.
and as Jeremy said, Balancer was the year, and then you can have the going down to a week, and you choose and have variable rewards based on it. All right,
Yeah,
well,
and those like the docs and all that research, like that's going to be linked so that people can really study it up, right? Because part of decentralized governance is making sure that people are informed to make these decisions, which is why I'm not coming with a point of view. I just want to let people know, hey, this is what's out here in DeFi and how other protocols are managing their VE tokens.
all right. So putting a bow on the sale, and then also the VE sale. So with regards to sale, the contract is topped up, so you're harvesting, and if you didn't get your rewards, Jeremy's taking care of you, and you might have already been taken care of. One, regarding
Most
stake
people have been taken care of already.
regarding VE sale, a somewhat choppy exchange rate, and the solution here is to institute a lockup period. That proposal is live. We would like to see if the community wants to pass it, and then we'll move on to saying what that lockup period should be. So participate. Uh, if there are any other thoughts on sale or VE sale, and if not, we can move to the last item on our agenda before we get to questions, which is the product pipeline. Let's move to product pipeline. I actually didn't put the link up, and if you want to send it to me so I can share it, because I don't want to go searching while I have my screen shared up here. But we have an
Sorry, I had to
Admiral.
unmute. I'm gonna send it over to you right now, Ben,
Okay, great.
so
Thank
you
you.
have the link, and then you can show
I'll
show
put it
everyone,
up
and
on
this will be
Thanks.
updated. Yeah, this will be on the live site here shortly because everyone in the community calls get a preview.
All right. So I have up on screen the Admiral Dow roadmap. And as Jeremy said, this is going to be live. This is open, public for everyone to see. But you guys are going to get the first preview of it because I don't think it's live yet. So, Jeremy, walk us through it. Or anyone, whoever wants to walk us through.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, do you want to take a kind of crack at the DAO priorities? Just because, there's some major areas that we're moving in and we have some really exciting things kind of rolling down the line. Oh, you're muted at the moment.
Sure, Ben, can you scroll down a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Why don't I make
So,
it smaller too?
So we have this in two. I believe we have this in two frames. One is what in priority of completion, do now, do next, do later, and another is in the kind of reason for doing them. So let's switch to the reason view.
Would that be DAO priorities?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, and this is organized by goal for Clipper. So you can see the goals are increase Clipper volumes, increase Clipper TVL, which makes Clipper competitive on larger trades and then results in more volume. Expand Clipper's role throughout DeFi through integrations and grow the Clipper community, and then just kind of improve internal processes. And as the community comes up with other things that they want to do, these will get added to the roadmap. This is community responsive. And I think there's two elements to, maybe I'll talk through a few of the types of things that are in here, and then I'll explain conceptually how we think about the roadmap. So for volumes, building a bunch of solvers is going to be really helpful to getting additional volume, right? So whether it's Uniswap X or CowSwap. To increase TVL, I think it's benchmarking is important, and expanding into other chains that kind of helps both volume and TVL. I think there's an opportunity to kind of have the LP token be able to be used as collateral within lending protocols, and I think we should be, and we've had interest in airdropping some of the grant funds that come from various protocols to Clipper community. So, and then, internal processes are a bunch of operational things. For example, alerts when SAIL runs out of the farming contract. So a lot of these come from proposals from the community. And as people put up proposals to do new things, these will get added to the public roadmap, right? These are community-driven proposals. And so I think there's two components to a roadmap. One is what to build, and why to build it. And then the second is how to prioritize that. What should be built first? And so this first page is what to build and why, which is responsive to the community. And then the second page is the roadmap, right? Which is when and in what order to build. And this uses DAO resources, right? It costs money to build. And so the DAO, for example, gets a retro PGF grant, and it's going to use that to commission the development of these features in this order. And, I think this is the second aspect which the community has to chime in on, is priority. And so those two issues will be handled separately. Why and what, and then when. And so now that we have this roadmap public, I think it will facilitate that conversation and those approvals by the community.
Right. And I think I know that you're a lover and a master of process, even if you will, but we need to, as a community, determine what is the process to figure out what the priority is and how stuff gets to the top of the product pipeline. And in the spirit of not just kind of this is how it's done to the community, we would like for the operators, the active community members, the community leaders, people who are stakeholders here, to make proposals, suggest, and start a discussion about how this process should work, so that the ship can be steered in the direction that the community wants. So Jeremy and Mark, we got through the whole agenda. Now it's kind of really up to the community to decide what's next and how we move through the roadmap. So with our time, wow, we're approaching our hour. So let me see if there's any questions, and then we'll see if anyone has any final thoughts. I think we can say goodbye and thank you and get to work.
Iotunde has a great question. So
okay, let me pop
can
it
we dive into that, because that actually is a fantastic question, something I think that's relevant to everyone in the community.
All right.
Why these are priorities.
I opened up chat, and can you explain more on what solver means and how it affects the TVL? Is a question for Iotunde. By all means, take it away.
Yeah, Mark, I think this is a T-ball question for you.
So the question is, what are solvers and how does that benefit volume and TVL, correct?
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
Okay. So the way that increasingly DEX aggregators work, including 1inch Fusion, Uniswap X, CowSwap, and a new product from 0x is that a user puts in an intent, which is a trade that they want to make and a price that they're willing to do it at. And then a bunch of solvers compete in order to try to fill that trade at a better price. And how do these solvers compete? Well, they're really good at finding all the various liquidity sources across all of DeFi and CeFi often, and seeing if they can mix and match in order to create a trade that actually has a better price than the user initially said they would be willing to make the trade at. Now, One-Inch Fusion calls these resolvers, I believe. Uniswap calls them fillers. CowSwap calls them solvers. We're just going to use the term solver for no particular reason, except we have to choose one. And because I believe CowSwap pioneered this model. And so solvers are the pathway through which volume comes. The more solvers, the more DEX aggregators Clipper is integrated into, and so the more people can benefit from Clipper liquidity, right? CowSwap doesn't really get routed very much through Clipper because there's not a CowSwap solver for Clipper, so it's essentially not integrated. And so these kind of solvers will help connect Clipper to the various DEX aggregators and result in more volume. The more volume, the better yields. And that attracts TVL, which in turn makes Clipper competitive on larger trades, which attracts more volume, and there's a virtuous cycle. And the market is very much moving towards solvers, and so that's why I think those were suggested by the community and why they're on the roadmap.
So Clipper,
does that answer the question?
Clipper moves or puts efforts in solvers, which creates a virtuous cycle to increase TVL and ratchets up, continues to ratchet up. All right, great. Well, we're going to be working on that. There's a few more questions that have to do with the app redesign. And what I'll do to address those questions, I'm going to put that in my final thoughts, and my final thoughts are going to be homework for the community. So this is a great presentation. We're super glad you're here. Everyone here is active, but this is not a passive protocol or a passive community. We need your help. So I'm just going to list some of the homework that I think that our community should be doing. One, explore the app redesign. That's clipper.exchange/app/liquidity/pool, or you go to clipper.exchange and get there with launch app. Go through the app, and if there's issues, let us know. You can be the DAO's quality control and quality assurance. Two, go to the governance forum submission and vote on that lockup proposal. Vote on whether we should go. I believe the Binance Smart Chain is the next chain to move to. So participate in governance. And that's more than just voting. It means being part of the conversation. So, this is why I think we should do a lockup, and this is my thoughts about how long a lockup should be, etc. Three is look for the heavy hitters on optimism and help us find partnerships so we can do some more strategic growing together. I mean, there's tons of stuff we need to do, and I'm losing stuff off the top of my head. Any other homework, Jeremy, that I should give the community?
I think that's plenty of homework.
Right.
And also come, open a ticket if you have issues, if you have questions, if you are trying to take on an initiative and need someone to kind of bat an idea around with. We're also here as resources for the community. I want to make sure that cycle is complete and as virtuous as we can.
Yeah, Clipper's getting pretty mature. I think July 2021 is when the first pool launched. So it's 2.5 years, and it feels to me like Clipper's getting smoother, more efficient. The community everyone knows their role, so let's just keep going and increase that TVL and get yields for all of us. That's all I'm going to say. Final words, Mark, and then we'll say goodbye, and I'm going to go give my thoughts in the forum. Oh, you're muted.
I think that's well put. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope this gives some insight into how we think about things. And decentralization is a real goal here. And so that's why we want to not only be transparent with the community, but make everyone aware that they are empowered and that these things are responsive to community desires and approved by the community as well. And so the things you want to see are the things that end up being done.
Let's all steer this ship together. And thank you so much for joining us on January's community call. We'll have another one in February. You suggest topics to us. Be present in the Discord. Message the operators. Message the dev team. We listen to everything, and we want to make it happen for all of us because we're in this together. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Safe sailing. And I'm going to hit end record.